Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the full stack food delivery application. So here in this video we'll be continuing the build from where we had left off. So in the first build we had implemented most of the UI part, and we also implemented the authentication part using your AWS FastAPI as well as Python. So now we're able to register users, login users as well, and the user is gonna be able to add the items to the cart and be able to go to the checkout screen, or basically the cart screen. And once when they press on make payment, we need to implement that part, and also the address part as well, that is to show all of the addresses. I'm not okay. So yeah, basically this is the screen that we need to implement, and once they press on confirm location, we need to store that address in the backend as well. And we also have some UI related changes as well, that is to as well as your eat club screen. Okay, so we're going to implement this much in this video. This is going to be a short video, maximum about an hour or two. So let's get started. So let's quickly implement the design part. I'm going to start off with the eat club design as well as your account screen design. As you can see over here, this is your account screen and this is your eat club screen. So let's get started with this. So for the eat club screen, we have some details to be shown. So over here I'm just going to enter that. Okay, so these are the features array. So we have an array of objects containing the ID, title, description as well as icon, and we have 3 of them. So we're going to design that over here, and we have some branding logos that is basically a hard-coded value. So let's get started. So initially over here I'm going to have in my insets, I'm going to say const insets is going to be equals to your use safe area insets. Import that correctly. Let's try to access our safe area view instead of this. So safe area view, let's pass on the style flex of 1, background color of white. As you can see, that's being applied correctly, fine. So now next I'm gonna have in my scroll view over here, import that from React Native as such. Alright, within the scroll view, the first thing is going to be your header. I'm going to have in a view for that, and I'm going to get in the link for the image. That is basically going to be this particular image. So let me paste that over here. Let's try to import image from React Native and save. Okay, width is going to be width. I think we need to define that onto the top with the help of dimensions. I'm going to say const width is going to be equals to dimensions dot get of your window. Okay, so for some reason the image is not being shown. So let's pass on the design for your content container style. For the scroll view, I'm going to pass on, let's say, content container style. I'm going to say padding bottom, it's going to say insets dot bottom plus 24. Okay, because I'm in the account tab, my bad. There you go, that's being shown correctly, fine, which is okay. So now for the view, I'm going to give it a bg of white. I'm going to say class name bg white, and below your image I'm going to have in a view. This in turn is going to have one more view, which in turn is going to have a text which says welcome to. Below there's another text. I'm going to say eat club over here. Save. So for this particular view, I'm going to say class name, it's going to have px of 6 and then minus mt of 10. Alright, so for this particular view, it's going to have a bg of white, so I'm going to say bg white rounded to XL, padding of 6, shadow of SM. Alright, that's weird. For some reason I've been logged out, so let's try to log in again. Okay, so we are back, and then let's come back to eat club screen. So again, if that happens, we're gonna first of all look into that issue. That is why exactly we're not able to stay in the home screen. So here I'm gonna say class name, it's going to have a text of center, text of SM, text gray of 500, Okay, that's looking good. And for this I'm going to say class name, text of center, text of 3XL, font of bold, empty of 1. And below this we're going to say your eClub membership is active, that text. So here I'm going to say text. You're going to say your eClub membership is active. Okay, let's pass on the class name for this. This is going to say text of center, text gray of 400, and here I'm going to say empty of 3. Save. All that's looking good. So below the text over here I'm going to have in a view. Within that I'm going to have in one more view. Within that a text which is going to say 80 and then days until expiry. I'm going to say days until expiry. Okay, then apart from that we're going to have a self-enclosing view. So I'm going to say view over here. This in turn is going to have class name. I'm going to say width of flex, not width of flex, width of 1 pixel, height of 16, and I'm going to say BG gray of let's say 200. Save. Okay, that's looking fine. Below this again we're going to have 2 more texts within a view. So here I'm going to say view, having a text which says ₹0 as well as total savings. Just going to add in the link for that. I'm just going to add in the code for that. As you can see, that's looking neat. So for your outermost view over here, let's pass on the design that is right below your text. Here I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to have a BG of this color code, that is hashtag F6 F8 F6 FB F8. Apart from that we're going to give it a empty of 4. Rounded is going to be LG, some internal spacing, padding of 4. It's going to have a flex of row as well as items of center. Okay, so that part is looking good. So for your inner text over here I'm going to say flex of 1 as well as items of center. So both of them take up equal spaces within that particular container. For your text I'm going to give it a 4XL. So text of 4XL. Apart from that, font is going to be extra bold. Okay, here I'm going to say class name. I'm going to say text gray of 500. Save. All right. Alright, so let's go with this for now. So now the next step is the next design that's going to come right below the view. Here I'm going to have a view which is going to have in a text which says why eat club. I'm going to say question mark. Here I'm going to have in a view that's again going to be self-enclosing. Pass one class name, width of 16, height of 1, BG black, rounded empty of 2, MB of 4. Here let's map over the features. I'm going to say features dot apply the map method. For every value over here I'm going to show my feature row. For this I'm going to pass in key f.id. Item is going to be f. So on to the top, let's try to show the feature row. Let's define that. Alright, so here I'm going to say const feature row is going to be equals to your react dot functional component. So react dot fc. Here having your item that is going to be type of your features of 0. So that would be defined. Destructure your item over here. Okay, so I think I've messed up the bracket. We can remove this, not required. Okay, so here let's try to render a view. Within this view, I'm going to have another view. Within that, I'm going to have in my iron icons, import that from the React Native vector icons. So your name is going to be equal to item.icon based on the data. So item.icon as any size 22, color is going to be white color. Apart from that, below this we're going to have in one more view containing both the text over here, that is title as well as your description. So item.your title, here having a text that's going to be item.description. Save, and boom, just like that. Is looking good. Let's try to finish styling this quickly. So first of all, let's style this one, that is why eat club. Class name, I'm going to say px of 6, empty of 6 as well. Within this, I'm going to say class name again. It's going to have a text of Excel, font of bold, and save. Okay, that's looking pretty neat. So now let's look into the design of your feature row component that is designed onto the top. So essentially this needs to come into a row fashion. So class name, I'm going to say flex row, items of center, items of start, as well as padding by of 4. Within this, I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to say width of 14, height of 14 as well. Rounded is going to be full. BG black, items of center, justify of center. As you can see, this is looking neat. So for some reason the first icon is not visible, or else you can make sure to add that. As of now, I'm just going to leave it as is. You can try to add in a % symbol that is available within iron icons over here. So this part is done. So now the next step is for your view. Class name, I'm going to say flex of 1. Apart from that, ml of 4. Here I'm going to say class name, font of semi bold, text of LG, class name over here, text gray of 400, empty of 1. And there you go. Just like that, is looking fine. So this is your entire design for the Eat Club screen. And I'm just going to add in the below design for your brands part. So just try to add in this. So initialize the scroll view and pass in horizontal because it needs to come into a horizontal fashion. Then also given your show horizontal scroll indicator set to be false. Okay, then map out the brand logos, and then within that have in a view. Then contain the image. For that, we're going to have an 80 as the width and height, and then resize mode is going to be contain. So save. So now this part is done. So this is looking good. So now the next step is let's jump back to your account screen. Here initially I'm going to have in some details. So I'm going to say const insets is going to be equals to use safe area insets. Apart from that, const dispatch is going to be equals to use dispatch. Okay, then let's set up the navigation part. So const navigation is going to be equals to use navigation. Then let's try to get in two things, your user as well as a token. So I'm going to say const user comma token is going to be equals to use selector. Import that from React Redux. I'm going to say taking the state from that is going to be equals to your state.auth. Okay, that's it. Let's try to construct our full name over here. I'm going to say const full name is going to be equals to, first of all, we're going to check if at all user.first name or user.last name is there, and then we're going to trim it, else it's going to be user itself. So I'm just going to add that over here. You can take a look at it. Save the file. Okay, so now let's actually get back into the return block and then start designing this. It's going to be simple. So safe area view. Let's pass on the class name for this. I'm going to say class name flex of 1, and again BG of white. Within a safe area view, have in your view, and here I'm going to show the user info bit. Here having a text, and show your full name. If it's not present, it is just going to be the user itself. Alright, so it's correctly showing fine, which says user, because obviously the user is logged in through the phone and they haven't entered their details. And I'm not sure if at all I've shown this in the demo part of the video. Okay, I think I've shown the account screen over here where my phone number is visible, so I'm not going to show that. I'll be trimming that while editing the video. So there is an edit button in the account screen. Okay, so over there, if you press on that, you'll be navigated to the edit profile screen where the user can update their profile. Okay, there they can enter the first name as well as last name, and after that it would be shown inside of your account screen. So I think there might be some kind of issues while editing, because I've shown the account screen a couple of times where my phone number is present. So let's try to start styling this out. So initially, class name over here, px of 4, py of 4, save that, and for the view I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to say flex of row, justify of between, as well as items of center. For this I'm going to say class name. For the full name, this in turn is going to have an text of 2XL. Font is going to be bold, as well as text gray of 900. I mean, below the text I'm going to have a touchable opacity. So I'm going to say touchable opacity. This in turn is going to have a text which is going to show edit over here. Okay, so for the touchable opacity, it's going to say navigate to edit info. We can design that later. Here I'm going to say class name, text of SM, text indigo of, let's say, 600. Then font is going to be semi bold. Save. As you can see, that is looking good. And if at all the user phone is going to be shown, I'm going to add that over here. I'm going to say text over here, and I'm going to comment it out over here. So I'm going to say user.phone, then option 8, this is going to be equal to your email display. Let's try to comment this out. Save. Okay, so now the next design is for your Eat Club banner design. That's going to come below this view. Having a view, this in turn is going to have one more view, which in turn is going to have a text which says Eat Club in caps. Save the file. Here, class name, this is going to have a text of white, text of LG, as well as a font of bold. And for your outermost view, let's pass on the class name, MX of 4, BG of black, rounded is going to be XL, padding is going to be 4. Okay, so below the text we're going to have basically the next design, which is going to say your total savings as well as membership wallet details. Here having a text which is going to say your total savings. Below the text I'm going to say one more text which is going to say membership valid for 80 days. Alright, so let's pass on the class name for this. I'm going to say flex of row, justify of between, items of center. For this particular view, I'm going to say class name, flex of 1, ML of 4. Okay, here again class name, I'm going to say text of white, text of SM. Here again, let's provide in the class name for the final piece of text. So class name, text of white again, it's going to have a text of extra small, so text XS, and empty of 1. Okay, this is looking good. So that's pretty much it. So now the next step is to design all of your list items. So let's design this. It's going to be simple. I'm going to design one and then I'm going to paste in for the remaining ones. So below the view, I'm going to have one more view. This in turn is going to have in your touchable opacity, which in turn is going to have in your iron icons. Import iron icons from React Native correctly. Okay, the first one is going to be name. That is going to be your settings, outline. Okay, and size is going to be equals to 24. Color is going to be equals to 000. Here I'm going to have a text which is going to say settings and personalization. Save. As you can see, that's looking nice. And below this, we're going to have one more icon that is after the touchable opacity. After the text, which is going to say chevron forward icon. Copy that down, add it over here. This is going to say chevron forward. Save. So for your touchable opacity, let's pass on the class name, flex of row, items of center, px of 4, py of 4 as well, a border b, border gray of 200. Here I'm going to say class name, flex of 1, as well as empty of 6. As you can see, it's looking good. So for your text part, I think we need to pass on the styling. So class name over here. Initially, I'm going to say flex of 1 for this, so the icon gets pushed towards the rightmost part. ML of 4. It's going to have a text of base. Apart from that, text gray of 900. So text gray 900. Save the file. Here, let's decrease the font size. Let's keep it to be 20. Okay, so that's it. So the remaining ones is going to be for the refer and earn, as well as credits, as well as saved payment methods and other 2 details. So I'll be getting this. It's going to be super simple. Just try to get in the icons and rename them. Okay, so let me paste that over here. All right, so I've just pasted in all of the required things. Let's try to save the file, and there you go. So just like that, it's looking neat. You can take a look at all of these details right from the starting point of the account screen.tsx. So these are all of the remaining parts after your settings and personalization. So exactly the same design, just that we're going to have some extra design over here for the second part, as well as the icons are going to change along with the text items. So now if that's it, let's head back to the next step, that is basically to design your map screen, or you can actually look into writing of the endpoint as well. Even that can be done. So let's come back over here. Okay, so now this part is done. So now next we can actually look into the design of the map screen as we were supposed to do in this video, or we can actually check out the main.py file, where we can implement a few more endpoints, that is for creating the address in the backend. Okay, also other endpoints as well. So let's look into that. So let's come back over here to the main.py. So as of now, if I would remember, we have written 3 endpoints. One is for verifying OTP, sending OTP, as well as verifying the token, that is if at all that particular token is valid, to mark the user as authenticated or not. Okay, so now the next step is we need to look into writing the endpoint for adding the address over there, as well as completing the profile as well. So let's look into that. Also the authorization, also for writing the endpoint for logging out too. So let's write that. So here I'm going to say at app dot, I'm going to say post method. This in turn is going to say / your API / v1 / logout. All right, so here I'm going to say define logout. Then I'm going to say authorization is going to be optional, of string, header is going to be none, and here I'm essentially going to say if not authorization. So if not authorization, then here I'm going to say raise HTTP exception, and I'm going to say status underscore code is going to be equals to 401, and detail is going to be no token provided. So I'm going to say no token provided. Else over here I'm going to say try. I'm essentially going to check token is going to be equals to authorization dot split. You're gonna get in the first value, that is the token is going to be present, so of 1. And I'm going to say if empty space in authorization, else it's going to be authorization. Here I'm going to decode it, so I'm going to say JWT dot decode method of the token as well as the JWT secret. So pass on that JWT underscore secret, just like this. And over here you need to pass in the algorithm, so I'm going to say algorithm is going to be equals to HS256. Okay, and here I'm going to say return message or logged out successfully. Here I'm going to say accept invalid token error, and I'm again going to say raise HTTP exception of your status code, that is going to be equals to 401 again, 403 for invalid token, as well as detail is going to be invalid token. Okay, here again I'm going to say accept exception as error, this is the one, as E. Here I'm going to say print error in logout. Then I'm going to say string of E. That's it. And over here, let's try to raise the exception again, and let's just enter this, copy that down. Here we're going to say raise HTTP exception. Status code is going to be 500 for any internal server error. While logging out, detail is going to be server error. I'm going to say just like this. Alright, so this is the endpoint for logging out. Okay, so now let's try the endpoint for completing the profile or updating the profile of a user. So here essentially I'm going to say class update profile of your base model, include that. And over here we need access to the first name, that is going to be of type string. Next is your last name, that also is going to be optional, not string, so optional is going to be none. Next I'm going to say your email of string. Okay, here let's write in the post method. I'm going to say at app.post, it's going to be /API / your v1 / complete profile. Here I'm going to say define complete underscore profile. This in turn is going to take in the body of type update profile, so I'm going to say body is going to be update profile. We have defined that on the top just now. Authorization is going to be optional, so authorization I'm going to say optional of string, header none. Okay, so here essentially I'm going to say if not authorization, just try to raise the HTTP exception, exact same code, add it over here. Okay, next condition is if not body.firstname or body.email, again we need to raise the exception. So if not your body.firstname or not body.email, then in this case I'm going to say raise HTTP exception of your status code is going to be equals to 400, and detail is going to be equals to missing fields. I'm going to say missing fields. Okay, so now let's try to have in your try catch block. So try over here. Again, first of all, try to get in the token. So same thing, whatever you have done previously. So try to access these two pieces of code. Add it over here. Okay, then here I'm going to say your phone is going to be equals to decoded. And here we're going to decode the phone. If you remember, we had encoded it while implementing the JWT.sign method. Here try to decode that over here. Okay, so here I'm going to say update underscore data is going to be equals to an object. So I'm going to say first name is going to be equals to your body dot first name, then your last name is going to be equals to your body dot your last name, then your email is going to be equals to your body dot email, and over here let's try to, okay, so decoded is wrong, that's the reason it's erroring out. So this should be decoded is going to be equals to, so this should be basically your decoded is going to be equals to your JWT dot decode and this particular format. Okay, that's it. So here let's try to have in the users table, and then we need to update the details. So here I'm going to say users underscore table dot, we have the update item method, so use that update underscore item. Here let's pass in the key, that is going to be equals to your phone, should match the phone. So we're going to update that particular document, pass in the update expression. So I'm going to say update expression is going to be equals to, I'm going to say set first name, it's going to be equals to first name, last name is going to be equals to last name as well as email. That's the last part. Okay, we also need to provide an expression attribute value. So here I'm going to say expression attribute values equals, here I'm going to say fn is going to be equals to your body dot first name, then your last n, that is your last name, should be equals to your body dot last name. Next it's going to be equals to your email, so em, it's going to be equals to your body dot email. All right, this part is done. So once that's done, here I'm going to say return message. I'm going to say profile is updated. Here I'm going to say user is going to be equals to star star update data and pass on the phone, that's going to be equals to phone. So these are some of the informations that's going to be sent to your front end part. Okay, so again similarly we need to accept the invalid token error as well as accept exception as e. Let's try to add that over here, it's already defined, it's essentially going to be the same thing. Okay, just like this. So let's try to save the file. So we are done with this part. Let's write the final endpoint, that is to create first of all the address base model, that is to create the body for that, and then let's write the endpoint to add address to the backend field. So here I'm going to say class address of your base model, here pass on the id, that's going to be string, let's pass on the type, that is also going to be of type string, address str. All right, next we have is your longitude, so longitude str as well as latitude. Okay, so this is your address model. Let's try to format. So here I'm going to say add app.post, I'm going to say /API /your v1 / add address. Okay, here I'm going to say define add underscore address, pass in the body, it's going to be your address model that we have defined onto the top just now. Again, authorization, option of string equals to header of none. Here I'm going to say if not an authorization, again raise HTTP exception with a status code of 401. So copy that down, add it over here. Okay, so next here I'm going to say try block. Again, it's going to be simple, that is for the first two steps, first three steps are similar. Add that over here. First of all, getting the token, decode it, and then decode the phone, so you would have access to the phone. Here I'm going to say address underscore dict is going to be equals to body.dict. Here try to add in each of the values. I'm going to say address underscore dict of your latitude is going to be equals to, I'm going to make use of decimal over here, so decimal of your string of your value, not this one, of your latitude. You can try to import decimal onto the top. So just like this, import, from decimal import decimal. Okay, so it should have taken that value. As you can see, that's looking fine. So the next part is for the longitude, so try to add in that. Here I'm going to say instead of latitude, longitude. So longitude is going to be equal to decimal of string of address underscore dict of your longitude. That's it. So here let's try to update your users table again. So for that, here I'm going to say users underscore table dot update item, similar method that we have used onto the top. Here also same thing, pass on the key. Again, it's going to remain similar based on the phone, because that's the ID which we have provided to the address table, the users table. Okay, so phone is going to be phone over here. Next, pass in your update expression. So you can try to add in over here. So it's going to be equal to set addresses, and we're going to say list append, add in the address. If not exists, address is going to be equals to your new address. We need to define that new address with the help of the expression attribute values. So let's do that. Here I'm going to say expression attribute values is going to be equals to an object. We need to define that new address value. So new underscore address is going to be equals to your address underscore dict, and empty list is going to be equals to an empty array. So I'm going to say empty underscore list is going to be an empty array. Okay, let's try to return over here. I'm going to say return your message address is added. So address added. All right, and again, let's try to copy down the invalid token error as well as except exception as E. It's going to be the exact same thing. Copy that down, and here let's try to add it. So that's it. Your status code is going to be 403, and then detail is going to be invalid token. Same thing for the next one as well, except exception as E, and it's going to say raise HTTP exception. Again, status code 500, detail is going to be any internal server error. So that's it. So we have completely defined the endpoints. I think one part is pending, that is for creating the order. So we can do that later while we finish implementing the design of the map screen. So let's come back over here. Let's try to add a product over here. Let's say the first one, I'm going to say view cart. As you can see, it's looking good. So now once if we press on change, we need to show that bottom model as you saw in the demo part of the video, as well as we also need to have a design to add a new address which would open up basically this particular screen, that is this map screen. Okay, so we're going to implement this one. So let's get started with the design of your card screen. Let's continue designing that. That is, once we press on change, we need to show the bottom model. So let's come back to card screen.tsx and then let's try to implement that. Alright, so the first step over here is once you come to the card screen, that is once if at all a user comes to the card screen after adding some items to the cart, if at all they press on the change button, we should show that model, and inside that model, if at all any saved addresses is there, we need to show that. Okay, so let's try to implement that first. So first of all, let's try to implement the state for show address model as well as set show address model. So I'm going to say const show address model comma set show address model is going to be equals to use state. Initially, it's going to be false, obviously. The next one is going to be for your second model, that is for the map model. So here let's try to add in that. I'm going to say const show map model comma set show map model is going to be equals to use state, and initially it's going to be also false. Okay, so now let's come down to the point where we have your change button, and for that we're going to have your on press being passed. So let's come down to that bottommost view which says change. Towards the rightmost part there is this touchable opacity. Here it's going to be simple. I'm going to say on press, take in a function, and over here let's write that properly. Here I'm going to say set show address model to be of true, so that design is going to open up. So now the next step is let's try to initialize our model and then show that particular design. Let's do that over here itself. I'm going to say model, import that from React Native, and to the model we're going to provide in a bunch of options. Okay, so we're going to say initially visible is going to be equals to show address model. So if at all this value is going to be set to true, automatically the model is going to show onto the screen. So that would be set to true if at all we press on this particular change button over here. Okay, that seems simple. Here I'm going to say transparent is going to be true, and apart from that animation type is going to be slide. Here let's try to have in a view. Within that we're going to have two more views, so let's pass on that over here. I've actually not added the design in the screenshot, so hence not showing that. You might have observed in the demo part of the video we are going to have two models over here. Here initially I'm going to say text which says address list. Okay, let's pass on the style to the view so we can see it onto the screen. I'm going to say class name over here. This in turn is going to have a flex of 1, then a bg black by 50, as well as a justify of end, just like this. And for this one I'm going to say class name, again a bg of white, a rounded top of lg, and some internal spacing, padding of 4. Let's try to press on the button change, and there you go, we are able to see something on the screen. And also the overlay is also being applied, that is in a different kind of opacity that I can say, which is looking good actually. So apart from this, for the inner view, or before that, we're going to have an touchable opacity. Let's add in that the first one itself. Within that we're going to have in your icons, this is going to be your close icon. I'm going to say name is going to be close. Okay, and your size is going to be equals to 24. Color is going to be equals to 333. As you can see, that's being shown on the screen. So for this view which contains these two children, pass on the design. So I'm going to say flex of row, items of center, not center, it's going to be justify between, so I'm going to say justify between, item center, and a margin bottom of 4. Safe. Okay, so this is working fine. So below this view we're going to have one more touchable opacity which is going to say add a new address button. So add in that view, or we can directly add in a touchable opacity, even that is fine. So touchable opacity and icons. Here let's try to add in the name. I'm going to say add circle outline, and size is going to be equals to 20. Color is going to be teal. Class name mr of 2. So below your icons I'm going to have in a text which is going to say add a new address. Save the file. Okay, as you can see that's looking fine. So for the touchable opacity, it's going to have a row fashion design. So class name for this, flex of row, items of center, py of 3. It's going to have a border of b, as well as border gray of 200. Safe. As you can see that's looking fine. So for the text, again we're going to have a teal color given to that. So class name, text teal of let's say 600, font is going to be bold. That's it. Save. Or we can directly give gap over here as well, that is for the touchable opacity. I'm going to say gap of 2. As you can see that's looking fine. So now below the touchable opacity, we're going to have a text which says choose within current locality, and below that we're going to have one more button which is going to say takeaway. Okay, so below this touchable opacity, let's format once. Here I'm going to have a text which is going to say choose within current locality. All right, and below that we're going to have in one more touchable opacity. Here having your icons, name is going to be your bag outline icon. Okay, then size is going to be equals to 20. Furthermore, color is going to be equals to 333. So I'm going to say 333 just like this. Again, class name mr of 2, save. Let's press on that again. As you can see, we're able to show that onto the screen, which is looking fine. So for the text, we need to pass on the style. So I'm going to say class name over here. This in turn is going to say text of SM, then your font of bold, text gray of 600. So add in that, as well as a padding y of 3. Okay, so this is looking good. So apart from this, after your icons, you're going to have a text which says takeaway. I'm going to say takeaway over here. Save the file. So for this again, it's going to have a row fashion design. So let's add that to the touchable opacity. So I'm going to say initially flex of row and items of center, some padding y of 3. It's going to have a border of B and then border gray of 200. Save. Okay, and for the takeaway design, let's pass on the design. This in turn is going to say text of SM, font of bold, and ML of 1. Okay, so that's it. So now the next step is, if at all the home address is present, we're going to show that particular home address. So I'm just going to get the design for that. I'm just going to add that below your touchable opacity. First of all, we need to check if at all the home address is set or not. So for that, we need to define it. Let's first of all comment this out. And onto the top, let's define all of the states that we're going to use in this particular video session. So here I'm going to say const home address comma set home address is going to be equals to your use state, initially null. So I'm going to say null over here. Okay, next is going to be your selected address. I think that also is not yet done. So let's add that now. So I'm going to say const selected address comma set selected address is going to be equals to not that one, use state, null over here. Let's pass in null. The next one is for the show map model, that is already added. The next one is for the set location. We also need that. So I'm going to say const location comma your set location is going to be equals to use state, and I'm going to set it to be null. All right, next one is for the address string. I'm going to say const address str comma set address str is going to be equals to use state of null. So these are some of the states that we're going to use in while implementing this particular block, that is your models as well as your showing of the address as well as the map. So first of all, for the address of the home address design, I'm going to initialize the use effect and we're going to load the home address from async storage. Okay, so I'm going to say use effect over here. So this is essentially going to run on the initial mount. So having a empty dependency array here, let's try to define the function. I'm going to say const load home address is going to be equals to async function. Okay, here let's try to have in your try catch block. So try, and here I'm going to say catch of error. Here I'm going to say console dot error. I'm just going to say failed to load home address with that particular error message over here. Okay, so now within the try block, I'm going to first of all get the address from async storage. I'm going to say const store is going to be equals to wait async storage.get item, and I think the detail we have used is cached location, if I'm correct. Okay, let's verify that. I'm not exactly sure. Let's come back to home screen. Let's search for your async storage code. Down. Yeah, it's going to be cache location. That is what is the key we have given. So let's pass on the same key. Okay, it's get item, my bad. Let's just search for set item. That would be better. Set item. Yeah, it is correct, cache location. So add that, and we're gonna add this condition over here within the card screen.tsx. So where is that at this point? So I'm going to say async storage.get item of your cached location. Okay, here if that value is present, so check the condition if stored, then directly say set home address to be of your json.parse of your stored. Alright, so that's it. So next step is catch, that's already written. Let's try to call the function onto the initial mount. So load home address, save, no issues. Now let's come back and check, uncheck the commented out code that is for this one, home address. Let's minimize this a bit. And over here, just uncomment it. I think we also need to set the address over here. Let's try to define that function. So it says select address. Let's go on to the top, and then if at all you press on that, we need to set the address. So here I'm going to say const select address. That's the function name. Is going to be equals to async address over here. Here first of all directly say set selected address to be of that particular address. Okay, and we can also set the model to be false. So I'm going to say set show address model to be a false, because that would be selected. Save the file. I'm going to say change, and boom, there you go. We are getting that particular address that is stored inside of async storage. And if all they want to add a new address, they can press on this, and then they can also add a new address from the map, as we saw in the demo part of the video. Okay, so this part is done. So now let's look into the further design that is below your home address. So let me just verify if at all the addresses state is added, because even that is required for now. So here I'm going to say const addresses comma your set addresses is going to be equals to use state. So here we can have n number of addresses, so it's going to be an empty array over here. Now let's come down over here, and then the next step is, first of all, we're going to check if at all the addresses.length is equals to 0, then do not show any address, else show all of the addresses that the user has added. Okay, so right below the home address condition, here I'm going to say if my addresses.length is equals to 0 and not of home address question mark, here I'm going to say no address found, else I'm just going to show over all of my addresses with the help of a flat list. So this in turn is going to say data address. So now only I'm going to write the code for this, and once when the user has added the addresses, we can directly see the design over here. Okay, so key extractor, get in the item, and this in turn is going to say item.id. Alright, and here I'm going to say render item. This in turn is going to say destructure your item, just like this. And over here, let's try to render a touchable opacity. And within this, we're going to have initially a view, which in turn is going to have your ion icons. So ion icons. Here name, this is going to be based on a condition. So I'm going to check if at all my item.type is going to be equals to home question mark, then it's going to be home outline, else it's going to be equals to your location outline. Alright, that's the condition. Size is going to be equals to 20. Let's add in that. Furthermore, your class name, it's going to have some margin right of 2. So I'm going to say mr of 2 as well as mt of 1. let's format once, and below your icons I'm gonna have in the view. This view in turn is gonna have in a text showing the item.type, and here I'm gonna have in the address being shown. Okay, so this part is done. Let's pass on the class name for this. I'm gonna say class name ml of 1. Okay, currently it should not show anything because we do have the home address. Once the user adds the address, it should be working correctly fine. So text of SM, then a font of bold. Here I'm going to say again class name, text SM, text gray of 600, safe. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So this part is done. So this is your complete model for showing the address. Okay, so now once we press on add a new address, we need to initialize on press event which says add new address, and then we're going to open up the model. So let's come back to that point. This touchable opacity on press add new address. Okay, let's press on that and let's initially create the function. Const add new address is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. Here I'm going to say set show address model to be of false. Here I'm going to say set show map model to be of true. Okay, so save the file and let's continue designing, or let's start designing the initial part of the second model, that is your show map model. So let's first of all start writing the code for that. So below this model itself, I'm going to add in that condition model. Here again, let's pass in the visible as well as your animation type. So here I'm going to say visible. It's going to be equals to show map model this time, and transparent is going to be, not transparent, animation type. This time it's going to be fade. So add in that, save the file. Let's come back over here within the model and let's try to have your safe area view. So this in turn is going to be a full overlay model as you saw in the demo part of the video. So we're going to pass on class name. It's going to have flex of 1 and then a BG of white. Okay, so within your safe area view, let's try to have a view. Within that, let's have a new touchable opacity, and I'm going to say icons. Let's design this and then let's try to open up the model so that we can see how exactly it's looking. So name, I'm going to say chevron back, and size is going to be equals to 22. Okay, color is going to be equals to 333. Save the file. I'm going to say add a new address. This should close up and then the new one should open up. And there you go. Just like that, it's looking neat. So this is how we implement it. Okay, so here I'm going to have in a text below the touchable opacity, which is going to say choose delivery location. So choose delivery location. Let's try to format once. Okay, for the view, I'm going to say class name, give it a flex of row, items of center, I'm going to say px of 4, py of 3, and then it's going to have a border of bottom, so border B for that, as well as a border gray of 300. Save. And there you go. That's looking neat. So now for your on press of the touchable opacity, let's pass on that. We need to close the model essentially. So taking a function, here I'm going to say set show map model to be a false. So set show map model to be a false, and over here within the text we need to add in the design for this. So class name, this in turn is going to have in a text of LG as well as a font of bold. And there you go. This is looking neat. So apart from that, here we're going to design the map location part. So before that, we need to have in some helper functions, or we need to design some implementations for getting the location of the user. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have 4 functions that we're going to use. That is use current location, confirm location, that is once they confirm on the button, that is going to come in this particular model. Next is the handle payment as well, that we're going to implement later. So yeah, these are the functions. So first of all, let's try to implement the request location permission function. So let's write that over here. So here I'm going to say const request location permission is going to be equals to I'm not sure if it's already defined. I don't think it is. Yeah, it is not defined. So here I'm going to say async function. Here I'm going to check the condition stating that if at all my platform.os is equals to iOS, then in this case I'm going to say const auth is going to be equals to await your geolocation dot, we have the request authorization method, use that, and here I'm going to say when in use. Okay, then I'm going to say return your auth is going to be equals to granted. So this is going to be either true or false depending upon whether the user has allowed the permission or not. That's it. Else over here I'm going to say const granted is going to be equals to await. I'm going to make use of permissions Android dot request method. Here we're going to make use of the permissions Android again, pass in your permissions, and we're going to request the access file location. So use that access file location method, and here we're going to pass in a bunch of options. So I'm going to say title, I'm going to say location permission. Okay, apart from that I'm going to say message. Here I'm going to say app needs access to your location. Furthermore, I'm going to say button neutral, button negative, as well as button positive. Okay, so just add in the entire code, and here I'm going to say return granted is going to be equals to, again similar condition, permissions.android.results.granted. It should return either true or false. Let's try to save the file. Okay, that's looking good. So now this function is done. So now the next step is we need to access the use current location method. So let's try to define that function as well. So here within this function we're going to make use of this helper function that we have defined right now. Here I'm going to say const use current location is going to be equals to a async function. All right, and over here I'm going to say const has permission is going to be equals to await, call that function request location permission. Here I'm going to check if not of has permission. I'm going to say alert dot alert permission denied. Here I'm going to say please grant location permission, and I'm going to say return. Okay, that's it. Here let's try to make use of the geolocation dot, let's write that properly, geolocation dot, we do have your get current position method. Make use of that. This in turn is going to give you the position. I'm going to say position over here. Here essentially we're going to get the coords basically. So const coords is going to be equals to your position dot coords, and here I'm going to say const new region is going to be equals to your latitude. So latitude, that's going to be equals to, all right, let's skip this for now. Coords dot latitude, okay, not altitude, latitude. Next is your longitude is going to be equals to your coords dot longitude. Furthermore, your latitude delta as well as longitude delta. So I'm going to say latitude delta, I'm going to say 0.01, as well as longitude delta, this also is going to be equals to 0.01. This part is done. So once we have all of these details, then just directly try to set the location. So I'm going to say set location of your coords, okay, not cart items, coords. Then the next one is going to be set the region as well. So I think we need the state for that. So here onto the top I'm just going to go up and then add in the state. For that we can take a look at it for the region as well as set region. Okay, so here let's come back to the point where we're writing the code. Here I'm going to say set region to be of your new region. And I think I forgot one more thing, to initialize the map ref, because we need to animate to region as well. Okay, so also we need to update the address as well. So let's come back over here. Here I'm going to say const map ref is going to be equals to use ref of null. Let's come back over here. Here I'm going to say map ref dot, we do have your current, and I'm going to say animate to region of your new region, comma 500. And here we need to update the address. We're going to call that function in just a bit. So update address of your coords. Comment this out, save the file. Alright, so now the next step is we need to have in a use effect that is going to be dependent upon your show model. Okay, so I'm going to say use effect. So take in that function and here pass in the dependency show map model, just like this. So here, as soon as they open up the add address, that is if they press on add a new address, we need to show some default pin that is going to be set, and we also have that a button onto the map which says use current location. If the user press on that, this is going to get triggered up, that is use current location functionality. So within your use effect, I'm going to first of all check if at all your show map model is chosen. Then I'm going to say const default coords. I'm going to add in the default coords over here. You can take a look at it just like this. Okay, and here I'm going to say const default region. This time is going to be equals to an object. I'm going to say latitude is going to be equals to your default coords dot latitude. Then your longitude is going to be equals to again default coords dot longitude. Okay, furthermore your latitude delta as well as longitude delta, just try to add it from the previous one. Okay, so for now just directly say set location to be of your default coords. Then I'm going to say set region also to be of your default region. So this is going to be obviously running on the initial mount once the show map model is going to be pressed on. Okay, so set it to be of your default coords. This part is done. So apart from that, again I'm going to say map ref dot current dot animate to region. So map ref dot your current dot animate to region, use that method animate to region of your default region as well as 500. Let's pass on that. And apart from that, I'm going to say update address. So this is a function which we're going to define in just a bit. Update address of your default coords. Alright, that's it. Alright, so now below your update address, we're going to again make use of the functionality that is to get the request location permission that we have defined previously. That is something similar like this. So I'm just going to add in the code for that. That's going to remain below the update address. So this is generally going to be a iffy. So that's going to self-execute. That is, it's going to execute over here, and it's going to be basically async function. It doesn't have a name over here. So essentially, initially we're going to say const has permission is going to be equals to await request location permission. Call that function that we've defined onto the top, and if at all no permission, send an alert message and then directly return. And again, we have done this previously. Geolocation.get current position async, use that method, get in the position, and which would give you the coords. Try to access the new region from the coords and directly try to say map ref.current dot animate to region of new region and then pass on the time over there. And here we're going to say update address of that particular coords. Okay, so let's try to comment this out for now. We're going to define the update address in just a bit, and here if at all there is any error, let's try to show that. Okay, and here we're going to say enable high accuracy true, pass on the timeout as well as the maximum age that is required for the geolocation method. So let's try to also comment this one as well. Update address, save the file. Let's press on change, add a new address. Okay, so hopefully now no errors, means we should be able to design the maps. Okay, so let's do that. So let's come back to the second model, scroll down, and where we have this design that is which says choose delivery location, I'm going to have in my map view. I think we need to install a dependency, not sure if it's installed. That is React Native Maps. It's not installed. Let's try to add that over here. I'm going to say new terminal. I'm going to say yarn add React Native Maps, enter. So while this is installing, let's continue writing the code for your card screen. Okay, so yeah, right below your text over here, or right below your view, that is where the map view design is going to come. I'm going to say map view. So I'm going to go onto the top and then import these two values over here. That is your map view as well as the marker to show the pin. So let's come back over here and let's try to design this. Okay, so for your map view, this is going to take in a map ref because we have given the animate to region, and also this should have a reference. So reference, I'm going to say map ref, not map view, map ref, and furthermore I'm going to say style. This is going to say a flex of 1, and your region is going to be equals to region. Okay, here first of all, within the map view, I'm going to check if at all the location is set or not. Obviously it should be set because the default location is what we are using as of now. And I'm going to say have in your marker, we've already imported that from React Native map. So this marker is going to take in the coordinate that's compulsory to pass, which in turn is going to take in your latitude as well as longitude values. I'm going to say latitude, that's going to be equals to your location dot latitude, comma, longitude is going to be equals to your location dot longitude. Okay, so yep, that's it. And here I'm going to say this marker is going to be draggable because once they drag, and we need to also update the address as well. Okay, so I'm going to pass on the prop that is draggable, and I'm going to say on drag end, that is once they drag and then stop the marker at a specific point, we need to handle that particular implementation. So I'm going to say handle pin drag or handle pin drag end. Let's comment out that for now we're going to define all of these in just a bit, and let's try to pass on the design for the map view. That's for the class name. Okay, I don't think there is anything present. Let's try to save the file. I think I need to do a pod install. I'm not sure. I think I need to reload my application. So cd ios pod install. Hopefully it is gonna install the map view references. Yeah, as you can see, that's installing, means we need to reload or restart the app. So I'm gonna cut off this, and I'm just gonna say yarn ios one more time once this command finishes. This is done, so cut it out, and then now we can directly say yarn start reset cache. Okay, so I'm just gonna press on the Eat Club app over here. Alright, so the app is being loaded, which is looking fine as of now. So let's try to give this a try. I'm gonna press on change again and then add a new address, and there you go. Okay, so as you can see, the map is working fine. So just make one change, that is once you install the package, just try to do a pod install and then clear off the app, and then again try to reload it. It should be working correctly fine. So here below your map view, we're going to have in some designs. So I'm going to say touchable opacity. So this in turn is going to have in your iron icons, which is going to say locate outline. I'm going to say name is going to be equals to locate outline. Your size is going to be equals to 24. Color is going to be equals to hashtag 1e e9 ff. E90ff, sorry. Okay, so for the touchable opacity, let's pass on the design. Class name, it's going to have a absolute positioning top of 32. Okay, then I'm going to say right. As you can see, we are able to see that onto the screen. That's the icon. We're going to say right of 4. So it's positioned towards the rightmost part. BG of white, rounded of full. So let's say rounded full, and then shadow of medium. I'm going to say active, opacity 75 or 80, whatever you can pass it. Format once. Okay, let's try to log in again. Alright, let's again come back to your cart screen over here, view cart, and then change as well as add a new address. As you can see, that's looking good. So now the next step is, let's give it some padding as well. That's not yet provided. Padding of 2. Okay, so now below the touchable opacity, if at all the address values are, we're going to show that, else it's going to be fetching address. And I'm also going to add the button for confirm location. So you can feel free to add in this particular code. Okay, save. Okay, it says cannot read property split of null. Reload. Oh, okay, so again we are able to see the login screen. That is weird, because let's try to check why exactly we're not able to store the user or persist the user basically. So auth stack navigator or navigation.tsx, here we're going to check the is authenticated is going to be equals to not of the user. Okay, and we're getting the user state from the use selector. That's going to be state.auth. So if you check out our auth slice, yeah, I think we are setting everything correctly, but not sure why exactly it's not persisting. Okay, alright, so as you can see over here, we do have an issue. It says, verify token 403, that's forbidden. So let's verify that. Some issue onto the backend part. So itla backend main.py, let's search for verify, not verify OTP, verify token. I hope we have written the endpoint for that. Yeah, it is there, as you can see. So 403, okay, invalid token, that's weird. So here we're going to see token is going to be equals to your authorization.split of the empty string and then access the first one to get the token that is after barrier. And if space in authorization else authorization, that's correct, then decode it. It's going to be equals to gwt dot decode of token. Passing the secret and algorithm is also HS256. Okay, that's correct. Then user response is going to be equals to user stable query that condition expression key of phone dot equal to be of decoded of phone. Yeah, even that's correct. Okay, so I think I got to know what's the issue. Here we are not returning the user. That's the main thing. Okay, as you can see, we have the user over here, but for some reason I've done the mistake over here. Let's try to add in that return. Here we're trying to return the user, so it would be set, and obviously now the details should work fine. That is, we should be able to persist the user. So phone is going to be equals to user.get of your phone, then your user underscore id should be equals to your user.get of your user underscore id. Furthermore, I'm going to say first name is going to be equals to user.get of your first name. Next, I'm going to say email. Again, similarly, user.get of your email. Next, your addresses, I'm going to say addresses is going to be equals to user.get of your addresses, initially an empty array. So now hopefully we should be able to see this working fine. So save the file. Let's come back to your home screen, make a change. Not home screen, your navigation tsx. Make any change so it gets reloaded again. Okay, that's weird. Again, we're able to see 403 error. Let's reload. Okay, I thought that was the issue, because over here we are trying to make the call for verify token. So as you can see, once if at all everything is right, we are dispatching the set auth. So here response.data.user. So previously user was not there, now it is there. Okay, so let's again check if at all there is any other mistake over here. Alright, so the issue still persists. So we're going to solve this at the later part of the video. That is, once we have implemented everything, that is a persisting part, because I think some reason your .env is not configured. That is basically your secret. It is not exactly changed. That is your JWT secret. If it is changed, obviously it wouldn't work. But yeah, let's look into that further after we have completed designing your cart screen over here. So currently I've just commented out this code. So let's come back to view cart and then change. I'm going to add new address. Okay, so once you press on confirm location, we're going to define that function. Okay, so onto the top, let's go over here. We're going to write two functions, that is for confirm location as well as update the address. So here I'm going to say const confirm location is going to be equals to a async function. Here if not of address string or not of location, I'm directly going to say return. Here let's try to have in your new address, I'm going to say const new address is going to be equals to your id, that is going to be your date dot nav dot to string, and your type is going to be other. Your address is going to be equals to your address string. Then furthermore, your latitude is going to be equals to simple location dot latitude. So location dot latitude. Similarly, longitude is going to be equals to your location dot longitude. Save, and here let's try to have in your try catch block. Let's make an API call over here. So over here, after this, try catch of error. Here I'm going to say console.log or console.error, fail to save new address with that particular error over here. Within a try block, I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to await get token. Let's try to have in the get token function over here. I'm going to say const get token is going to be equals to async functionality, async method. Here I'm going to say return await async storage dot get item of token. Save. Alright, so this part is done. So once we have the token, let's try to make that API call. So first of all, here I'm going to check if not of token. I'm going to say alert dot alert error and no authentication token found. I'm going to say directly return. Here else I'm going to say await axios dot, it's going to be the post method, make use of your base URL, and it's going to be equals to / add address. We have already defined this. It's going to be equals to your new address. Here it's going to have in your headers authorization, it's going to be equals to barrier token. So let's add in the API base over here, or your base URL, whatever you can call it. Alright, let's come back over here. Okay, my bad. So the return should come within your alert, within your condition. That is over here. So after saying await axios dot post method, let's try to set the addresses. I'm going to say let set of addresses to be of whatever is there within the addresses, which is initially empty. Add in the new address over here. So I'm going to say new address. Okay, next over here I'm going to say set selected address to be of the new address, and I'm going to say await async storage dot set item of your selected address, comma JSON dot stringify of your new address. And we can close the model. I'm going to say set show map model to be of false, and I'm going to say if on address selected, we need to define this. So this is going to be equals to your root dot params dot on address selected. Okay, so if this is true, then in this case we are gonna close the model. Let's try to implement that. So here I'm going to say on address selected of your new address. Next I'm going to say navigation dot go back. save. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's try to give this a try. Let's try to format once. So let's try to give this a try. So once you press on confirm location, this particular address should be stored within the user's addresses array. Okay, so confirm location is not yet given to the on press. So let's come back to the point, that is touchable opacity. I'm going to say on press is going to be equals to confirm location. Save. Nothing seems to happen. Let's look into that once. Console.log data, and then first of all let's check if at all it's actually running or not. Let's press on confirm. Okay, so it is running, but for some reason we are not able to get anything. So let's try to log the token. We'll see if at all we do have access to the token or not. So console.log token, and the token over here. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, we're not even going into the try block, is it? Not sure, because we are able to see data, but we're not able to see the token over here. Okay, I think I got to know why, because over here something is missing. Let's try to have the location over here. Save. Okay, so that's the reason it's not showing at all. So let's try to have in the address as well as your address string. I think both are null. All right, so that's the reason nothing is actually happening. Address is null and even your location is also null. But that shouldn't be the case, because once when we open that use effect, this is dependent, so we are actually trying to set the location, but over here it's not exactly showing that. Okay, I think I got to know why it's exactly not coming, because this is actually going to be dependent upon your update address. Okay, if you remember previously we were commenting out this one, so let's try to uncomment it, and we also need to add it within this function as well, that is within the use effect. That is going to be right below your mapref line. Update address of default cots. And finally over here as well, that is below this one, copy that down, and here also it's going to be equals to update address of cots, that is below the mapref. Let's try to define the function update address below this itself. I'm going to say const update address is going to be equals to a async function, which is going to take in your cots. Here try to have in your try catch block, so try catch of error. I'm going to say console.error reverse geocode failed. Here we're basically trying to convert that particular latitude longitude into the string format. Okay, and I'm going to say reverse geocode failed with that particular error. Okay, and I'm going to say set your address string to be of unable to fetch address. Within your try block over here, I'm going to say if at all your result.data. Before that, I'm going to get in the link for the API. I'm just going to paste it over here. You can take a look at it. We're going to make use of this API, that is maps.googleapis.com, and then convert this into string format. This also takes in your Google API key, so make sure you get in your Google API key from the Google Console project. Here I'm going to check if result dot your data. So here if at all your result dot data dot results and your result dot data dot your results dot length is greater than 0, then set the address string over here. So set address string to be of result dot data dot results of 0 dot your formatted address. That's how we get this formatted underscore address. Save the file. Okay, reverse geocode failed because your Google API key doesn't exist, so we need to add in that onto the top. I'm going to add mine, so you can add in yours, and then I'm going to not show this basically. So I've added in my key over here. Let's try to come back over here. Let's say back, change, add new address. Okay, so now we're getting some issue. That means we do have some data being present, and there you go. Address is being present, token also is present, Axios network error, request failed with status code 422. Yeah, we can try to solve this. So we can actually try to uncomment that design which we have, commented out previously, if you would remember. That is for the address string because it was failing previously. So uncomment this, and there you go. So we're able to see that on the screen. So we need to solve this 422 error that is coming from the Axios error. So let's look into that, where we have gone wrong. If at all there is any issues in the endpoint, add address. So main.py, yeah, verify OTP is done, verify token is failing, we're going to fix that, and your logout is there, complete profile. Yeah, this is your add address. Alright guys, so the issue has been solved finally. So the problem was very simple. I had done a typo in all of the endpoints, that is verify token as well. So basically even that is working. So if I would reload my app now, you should be able to see the persistence, that is we are no more seeing the login screen. As you can see, loading, and then boom, we are coming in. And if I check out my backend, as you can see, it is giving a 200. Okay, so as I said, the issue was with respect to the typo, that is for the algorithm over here. Okay, if I would show you my verified token, I've made a change for that. As you can see, it is gonna be algorithms plural, not algorithm. That was the mistake in all of the endpoints. So that's the reason even your address endpoint also was not working fine, right? So I'm gonna say add and then view. Okay, cannot read property split of null. Okay, let's fix that up. Okay, so over here, let's make that change again. That is for your add address. This also is algorithm. We need to make it as algorithms. Save. Reload the app. Again, let's actually comment out that code. For some reason that is not valid. Or let's add some optional chaining. So come back to your card screen.tsx, and where we have that address string being shown. I think that is there in the view if I'm not wrong. Let's search for that address string. Yep, this is the one. So just comment out this for now, or you can actually try to add the optional chaining. So let's say view, add a particular item, view cart. Okay, so now first of all, let's try to add in the location over here. So I'm going to press on add a new address. So now we have made that change in the endpoint, that is by making algorithms in the place of algorithm. That was the issue. I'm just going to press on confirm location. Now let's try to save it. Hopefully no issues. Okay, now it is working, but okay, let's actually see where exactly the issue is, because once when we come to the card screen, it is erroring out because it is not valid. I'm going to press on confirm location. Okay, so now we have a different error which says forbidden. So let's look into that. So the issue is finally fixed. So again, the one mistake I made was, like, since we had made the change over here for algorithms, we had to restart the server. That was the only issue. So I again restarted it, and as you can see, the post request is okay, and I was able to see the address being added into the backend part. So let's try this out again. It's going to work properly fine. I'm going to say change, add a new address. I'm going to press on change, and there you go. This is being shown correctly fine. This is the address stored in the backend. Okay, so currently it's deleted. Once if I reload the app, that should not be shown. So I'm going to add the address again, and I'm going to say confirm, and there you go. It's confirmed over here, and we need to show that particular address over here at this particular point. So let's implement that. So if you remember, in the card screen.tsx, right towards the right side of your location icon, we had a function written. Let me just check that if all it's written. There is right above this. As you can see, we have the get display address. So initially it was commented. Let's try to implement that. So let's go on to the top. I'm going to say const get display address is going to be equals to a normal function. I'm going to first of all check the condition. If at all not of selected address, then I'm just going to say return no address selected. Alright, and if at all selected address dot type is going to be equals to takeaway dot type is going to be equals to takeaway, then in this case I'm just going to say return takeaway. Else if at all the address is present, then try to say return your selected address. We're going to make use of the slice method, so I'm going to say selected address dot slice method in JavaScript. Go into the addresses and then dot slice of, let's say, the first 50 characters, and then the dot. Save. As you can see, that is being shown correctly fine because we have chosen that. Okay, this part is done. So now I think over here we need to add in one more item plus. As you can see, it was initially add more items because the minimum was not met, which was showing correctly fine. So since I increased the quantity, it became 198 and the minimum is 99 rupees, I guess. So that's the reason it's saying make payment button over here, which is correctly showing fine. So this is done. So now let's try to implement the final endpoint, that is to place a order in the backend part. So for that, let's head back to your main.py. Let's write down the endpoint over here. So I'm going to say at, it's going to be your app dot your post method. It's going to be /API /v1. I'm going to say orders / your create. Here essentially I'm going to say a response underscore model is going to be equals to order. I think order is already defined, so that's the reason it's already taking it over here. Okay, let's write down the function for this. I'm going to say define create underscore order. Body is going to be equals to your create order. Not this one, we need to have in the create order. Let's search for that if create order is already written. Create order. Nope, order is there, but create order is not defined. So here I'm going to say class create order of your base model. Here let's try to have in your user ID, that is going to be of type string. Your restaurant ID, I'm going to say string. Furthermore, your items for that particular order, it's going to be a list of your order item. Next is your total, I'm going to say of type float. Next we have is your address of type string. Let's come back over here and then let's try to define it. That is, the body is going to be of type of create order. So instead of this, let's write the create order define, and here I'm going to say now is going to be equals to your date time dot UTC nav, use that, and I'm going to say is of format, ISO format, my bad. And here I'm going to say items underscore list is going to be equals to empty array initially. I'm going to say for I in your body dot items. Over here I'm going to say items underscore list dot append method, use that, and here try to add in all of the details starting from the item dot id. I'm going to say item underscore id is going to be equals to I dot item underscore id. Next is going to be your name of the product, I dot name. Next is the quantity. So I'm going to say quantity is going to be I dot quantity, and I'm going to say price. Here essentially I'm going to say decimal of your initializer string, and it's going to be I dot price. So we're converting it into basically decimal format. And here I'm going to say item is going to be equals to, let's construct our item object. This in turn ID, that is going to be, let's say, string, and generate a UUID. So just pass in that function, automatically it's going to get generated. Then your user underscore ID, this is essentially going to be body.user underscore ID. And then we're going to have your restaurant ID. Here I'm going to say body dot your restaurant underscore ID. Then your items for that specific order, I'm going to say items underscore list. Furthermore, I'm going to say the next part. So this items underscore list is going to come from over here itself. Next is going to be your total price. I'm going to say total. That is going to be equals to, again, decimal of string of body dot total. Add in that. Here make use of body. This is going to be your total price. Okay, so here it's saying items dot list is not defined because, okay, the spelling is wrong. Items underscore list, that's the correct spelling. Add in that. And even over here I need to make the change because it's item list. Yeah, that issue is gone, which is good. So apart from total, we're going to have the next one coming, that is your address. Here it's going to be a body dot address. Next is going to be your status. That is going to be pending. Then I'm going to say created underscore at. It's going to be now. Okay, that's it. So here just try to push it into the orders table. Here I'm going to say orders underscore table dot put method. I'm going to say put item. Your item is going to be equals to your item. I'm just going to say return your item over here. That's it. So this is your endpoint for creating an order. I'm going to say format, save. Alright, so make sure you have created a orders table in the backend. Alright, so with the same spelling, orders underscore table. So I'm just going to show you mine over here. See, as you can see, we have two tables, orders underscore table. The unique ID for orders table is going to be your ID of type string. That is your partition key with which we're going to differentiate each specific document. And over here it's going to be a phone. That is already working fine. So make sure you create this and then we should be good to go. We can basically implement this in the card screen now. Let's come back to the card screen and then implement the function basically, that is to handle the payment part. So here I'm going to say card screen.tsx. Here I'm going to say const handle payment is going to be equals to async function over here. Here I'm going to check if not of selected address. We are going to show a alert box saying that please select the address. I'm going to say alert.alert error and please select an address before proceeding, and then return from the function. Alright, then I'm going to say set is loading to be of true. We have not yet implemented that, so add in a state for that. Const is loading comma set is loading is going to be equals to use state initially false. Okay, so let's come back to handle payment. Here I'm going to say set is loading to be of true. I'm just going to construct my orders data over here. So here we're going to build up the items. If at all, we have two options as well. That is, if at all a normal cart item is without customizations, and if at all a cart item has customizations as well. So we are going to build both. So we're going to build based on both of these cases. So I'm just going to add in the code for that. You can take a look at it. Okay, so save the file. Okay, so here first of all, we're going to check if all the customizations are present or not, include that, and then calculate the customization price if at all it is present with the help of the reduce method. And we're going to store that value within the customization price. You can take a look at it, how exactly is being implemented. All right, then we're going to calculate the base price, your unit price, as well as the quantity. Then we're going to return all of these values, that is the total price after including the customizations, as well as the quantity for that particular item. Then the name, if it's present, it's going to be that, else it's just going to be item. Then your item.id. Okay, so this is basically your items for order. The next step is we need to calculate your order data. So I'm just going to add it over here. So your order data is going to be equals to user underscore ID. We need to pass in this. And then your restaurant ID, we also need to pass in this, as well as your items, your total price, as well as your address. Okay. So this part is done. Let's try to have in your try catch block. So I'm going to say try catch of error. Here I'm going to say console.log error with that particular error message. And finally, I'm going to say set is loading to be of false. So now within your try block, let's say const token is going to be equals to your get token. And if not of token, I'm going to say alert.alert error. Here I'm going to say no authentication token found. No authentication token is found. Okay. And directly going to say return over here within the if condition itself. Apart from that, let's try to access the result. I'm going to say const result is going to be equals to wait axios dot is going to be a post method for order. Make use of backticks. Initialize your base URL. It's going to be / your orders / your create, and here passing your order data that we have defined above. Here passing authorization, that is your headers details. So here authorization is going to be equals to backticks bearer token. Okay. And here we need to dispatch the clear card because the order is being placed over here. So I'm going to say dispatch, get the clear card from the card slice, this particular value, and it doesn't take any payload, so just empty function. And we can create a screen that is known as your order confirmation screen. So here I'm going to say new file, order confirmation screen.tsx rnfes to get the shorthand code snippet. Let's try to save this file, and let's actually include that. Basically, I think within your routes it is already included. Order confirmation, not sure. Yeah, confirmation is there. Yep, it is included. So come back to navigation.tsx. Right below this one, I'm going to say main routes dot confirmation. The component to render in this phase is going to be your order confirmation screen, not this one. Oh my god, let's try that properly. Format and then save. Okay, so let's come back to your cart screen over here. So once we have done the dispatch of clean cart, I'm going to say navigation.navigate. It's going to be equals to your main routes. Import that dot confirmation and just pass in all of your order data that is going to be coming from your results.data. I'm going to say order data, or order is going to be equals to result.data, because if you remember in the endpoint we are directly trying to return the order item, as you can see over here. So scroll fully down, as you can see return item. So this should be all of this details which we can use it while styling the order confirmation screen. Okay, so come back to cart screen.tsx. I think pretty much that's it. We can try to give this, that is your on press to this. So let's again add item to the cart. It's already added. View cart. Let's search for make payment. Yeah, it's already there over here. So for the touchable opacity, so first of all, this is going to be disabled if it is loading. I'm going to say disabled if is loading is true, because the user might press it again if at all something is not working correct, right? Then I'm going to say on press is going to be equals to handle payment Let's first of all cut the server, backend server, because we have added a new endpoint, and then reload it again. Python 3 main.py, and it's again running. So save. So hopefully let's see if at all we're able to create the order or not. So handle payment over here. I'm going to press on make payment. Okay, as you can see, it says please select an address before proceeding. Let's choose change, and I'm going to choose home. Okay, I'm going to say make payment. All right, nothing seems to happen. That's weird. So let's see if there are any logs in the console. Okay, I think it's disabled because, okay, let's do one thing. Let's first of all, remove the disable, and let's see what exactly is happening. Clear of this and then make payment. That's weird. Nothing seems to happen. Let's give actually a log just to verify if at all we're actually going into the function or not. Console.log data. Let's check it out over here. I'm going to say make payment. Okay, so it is running. So let's actually try to log your items for order, and let's actually check if at all we are getting something from this point or not. So I'm going to say console.log items for order. So we should be seeing some kind of data getting constructed over here. So make payment. See, we do have something. As you can see, item ID 11, name we have, quantity 2, price is going to be 99. Okay, actually it should be multiplied by 2. We can do that. Price is going to be equals to unit price plus customization price. Okay, we need to actually multiply this with the quantity. Save. Let's give this one more try. We do have some information, and there you go. Now this part is fixed. That is a simple issue. Now the price is correctly being shown, but for some reason we're not able to create the order. Not sure why. And even in the backend there are no issues. That's weird. Let's try to log the data over here. Even this should come, obviously. I'm going to say order data, clear of this, and then make payment. Okay, I think I know what's the issue, because over here your user ID is not defined. That's the reason it's not coming, right? Because all of these are defined. Yeah, we have given mock over here, even that should work, but over here, as you can see, user ID is not found. We need to set that, right? So we can do that with the help of, if you remember, we have your verified token endpoint. With the help of that, get the details, and then we're going to implement that. I'm just going to add in the code for that. So let's come back to card screen. Let's first of all add it on the initial render with the help of a use effect. Let's go over here. API base is not there. Let's see what exactly is the name we have given. It's going to be base URL. So here I'm going to say base URL. Okay, so we need some state to access the set user ID. So here what we are doing is first of all getting the token from missing storage. If a token is not found, then directly say no authentication token found. Then try to hit this endpoint that is for verified token. From there get the details of it. That is, if at all any addresses are stored by the user, store it over there. And we're going to say set user ID to be of user.user_ID or user.phone. Okay. So let's try to initialize the state for this, that is user ID as well as set user ID. Here I'm going to say const user ID comma set user ID is going to be equals to use state of null initially. Come back over here. Hopefully this should be set. Let's try to format once. Save the file. Let's actually try to log the user ID before we press on make payment again. So let's say onto the bottommost part. Let's over here itself. Console.log data user ID. Save. And there you go. This is my unique user ID that is stored in AWS. We are able to fetch that. So now hopefully we should be able to make the payment, and it should be taking the value. There you go. Now it's taking the value. Let's press on make payment. First of all, select the address. Even this is coming fine. Let's choose this one. That got selected, make payment, and boom. Just like that, we're able to place the order. 200. Okay. So now this part is working fine. We can try to design your order confirmation screen. So here, if you remember in the demo part of the video, there was some kind of confetti that came once when we placed the order. So we can try to install that package, that is React Native confetti cannon. So I'm going to say yarn add React Native confetti cannon, enter, and let's try to start designing this page. I'm going to say const route is going to be equals to your use route. Import that from React navigation. Also your const navigation is going to be equals to use navigation. Import this as well. Let's try to get in the order. That is going to be equals to your route.params. Okay, you can try to define the order type, otherwise it's gonna give that underline. And here I'm gonna say const created at or const safe order is going to be equals to order. So here, since we are actually referring to just a single restaurant containing all of these categories under them, we're just going to add in a mock restaurant details without the image. That's going to be this one, and the created at value with the help of the safe order dot created at. If it's present, then new date of safe order dot created at, else it's going to be just new date. Next, let's try to come back over here, initialize the design for this. I'm going to say safe area view. Here pass on the class name flex of 1 bg white, and then yeah, pretty much that's it. Here I'm going to say confetti cannon. Let's try to import it onto the top just like this. I think we need to do a pod install once and then restart that, but let's write down the code over here. I'm going to say 200. Then I'm going to say origin is going to be equals to x is going to be -10, y is going to be 0. Furthermore, your auto start I'm going to say true, and I'm going to say fade out is going to be equals to true as well. Let's try to format over here, and then apart from that, I'm going to have in my scroll view over here. I'm going to say scroll view. Within this, I'm going to have in a view. Within that, I'm going to have in my image. I'm just going to get the link for the image. Okay, I'll be sending this in the description. You can take a look at it. Let's try to import image from React Native. Here we're going to say two texts. One is going to say order confirmed. I'm going to say order confirmed. Below that, another text that's going to be equals to your food is on the way. Let's pass on the class name for this. So I'm going to say class name. It's going to be text of 3XL, font of bold, text green of 600, empty of 4. Okay. Here I'm going to say class name, text of LG, text gray of let's say 600, as well as the empty of 2. As you can see, just like that, it's working fine. We're able to see the confetti being shown as well. And for the scroll view, I don't think there's any style for the view. We need to pass in the style for this. I'm going to say class name, items of center, MB of 6. As you can see, that is looking neat. And for the image, you already given the style. That's looking good. Next is to show the design for the order ID as well as placed on date. You can try to access it over here, right below the view. Save. As you can see, that's looking neat. So below this view, let's try to have in one more view. Here we're going to have in a text which is going to say restaurant details. Here I'm going to say text that's going to be equals to restaurant dot name. Here I'm going to have the total price being shown. So I'm going to say total is going to be equals to rupees. Here I'm going to say save order dot total dot apply the to fixed to be of 2. Save. Okay, we're able to see that design being shown to the screen. Let's pass on the class name for this. Initially bg of white, rounded is going to be XL, shadow is going to be medium, some internal spacing padding of 4, mx of 4, mb of 4. Okay, so again we need to reload the app, that's fine. So here for the class name, it's going to be text of XL, font of semi bold, text is going to be black, mb of 4. All right, and over here I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to say text of LG, font is going to be bold, text is going to be black. Here text gray of 500 for the price. Class name text gray of 500. Okay, so again we need to create an order to see the design. We can do that in just a bit. Let's finish writing the order details design as well. That's going to come below this view. Here I'm going to have in a text which is going to say order details. Below that we're going to have in one more view. I'm going to say view over here. This in turn is going to say delivery address is going to be equals to your safe order dot address. Let me just add it over here. And for the view, again it's going to have a bg of white. So I'm going to say bg white, rounded is going to be XL, then shadow of medium, some internal spacing padding of 4, again mx of 4, as well as mb of 4 as well. So for order details, I'm going to say class name. It's going to have an text of XL, font of semi bold, text is going to be black, mb of 4. And for this particular view, I'm going to say class name. It needs to come into a row fashion, so flex of row, your justify of between, and then a margin bottom of 2. So the text which says delivery address, let's pass on the design for that. This in turn is going to have a text gray of 600. So for this, the design is already passed, which is good. The next one is going to be for the status as well as all of the item details. So that's going to come right below this view. I'm going to say view over here, pass in a text which says status, and here I'm going to say your safe order status or is going to be pending. So I'm going to add the complete design for this. You can take a look at it. Okay, format and then save. So here this is the design for this. You can take a look at it, and here we are trying to map over the items and then show the item dot name as well as the quantity with the price as well as multiplied by the quantity. Next we have two more buttons, that is view invoice as well as back to home. So below this particular view, I'm going to say decibel opacity, having a text which is going to show view invoice, and apart from that over here I'm going to have in one more decibel opacity which says back to home. Here I'm going to say back to home. So for the decibel opacity, I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to have bg teal of 400. Your rounded is going to be XL. So your py of 4, mx of 4, as well as mb of 4. Okay, I'm going to say on press is going to be equals to generate invoice. That is basically going to be in a model or in an alert box kind of design. So generate invoice. Okay, so for this text which says view invoice, I'm going to say class name over here. This in turn is going to say text black. Okay, text center, font of bold, text of LG. Here I'm going to say class name for the second touchable opacity. This in turn is going to have a bg black. So I'm going to say bg black over here. Rounded is going to be XL. Add in that, then py of 4, mx of 4 as well. On press, I'm going to say go home. For this particular text, class name is going to be text of white, text of center, then font is going to be of bold, text is going to be of LG. Let's define both the functions, that is generate invoice as well as go home. So here essentially I'm going to say const go home is going to be equals to a normal function. I'm just going to reset the navigation state. I'm going to say navigation dot reset. Index is going to be 0. Furthermore, your routes, I'm going to say go onto the main tab. So just pass in the tabs over here. Save. So the next one is going to be for the generate invoice. I'm just going to add it over here. You can take a look at it. Okay, so this is just showing the details within an alert message. So I'm just going to say import alert from React Native and then try to get in all of these details. That is from the save order that's coming from the previous screen. Save. Let's try to give this a try. Place order. Let's say just the first item. View cart. So we need to add more items because it's not meeting the minimum payment. Choose a address. I'm going to choose, let's say, this one. Okay, I think we need to place. Okay, I think for this we need to add in on-press. You can add in that and then set the address. For now I'm just going to choose the same thing and then make payment. And boom, there you go. We have that nice design being shown. All of the details are being shown as well. And item status is pending. Order details, everything is correctly showing fine. View invoice, and there you go. So this is basically done with the help of your alert box, which is pretty simple itself. You can try to generate PDF as well, even that can be done. So this part is completely done. So now one step which we missed is within the change, if you press on add address, I think I forgot to implement the handle drag implementation. So once you move the pin a bit, we need to change this particular address, right? So let's first of all check if the pin is movable. As you can see over here, that should be changing. Okay, so let's implement that. That's the final part over here. And I've also implemented the logout. So I'm not going to show the account screen because my phone number is visible. So for the logout, I'm just going to show the code that is going to be over here. So initialize on press on the logout over here, and you can try to implement this code. So the logout endpoint is already written. Make a call for that. It's going to be get and pass on the headers. That's going to be authorization token. So your token is going to be coming from your use selector, just like this. So try to log out automatically. You should be pushed to the login screen. So let's come back to the cart screen now. Implement the final bit of this, that is to change the address over here once we drag the pin. So I think we have already written a function for handle drag end. Let's search for that. Handle drag end. Okay, it's currently disabled. Handle pin drag end, that's the function which we're going to write. Let's say onto the top of the screen over here. I'm going to say const handle pin drag end is going to be equals to, it's going to take in that event, and over here I'm going to say const coords is going to be equals to your e dot native event dot your coordinates. All right, here let's try to access the new region once we have changed the location. So your new region is going to be equals to your latitude. That's going to be equals to your coords dot latitude. Next is going to be longitude. That is going to be coords dot longitude. Next again latitude delta as well as longitude delta. So latitude delta, that's going to be equals to your region dot latitude delta. Next one is going to be longitude delta. This is going to be equals to your region dot longitude delta. Okay, once this is done, try to set the location. I'm going to say set location to be of your coords. I'm going to say set region to be of your new region. All right, apart from that I'm going to say your map ref dot current dot animate to region. Use that. All right, and this in turn is going to take in the new region details. So pass in the new region details as well as the 500. That's for the animation timing. Here call the function that is update address of your coordinates. Save. Okay, so we do have some issues over here. it just cannot read property latitude of undefined. So here we're going to say e.native event.coordinates. Then your latitude is going to be equals to coords.latitude. Okay, that's the correct one. Okay, spelling mistake. So it should be coordinate, not coordinates. So change that. So this is the correct one. Anyway, let's remove it. We have fixed that. Save the file. And now if I even try it out once again, they should be working correctly fine. So change, add a new address, and then I'm going to choose some other address, drag the pin, and there you go. Level road, we are able to choose that. Confirm location, they should be chosen over here. Okay, as you can see, we can try to add more items. It says your cart is empty. Let's say 2 more items, and then view cart, make payment. Okay, select an address, change. Yeah, so make sure to select one of the address over here. Make sure to initialize on press, otherwise it won't get selected. Currently on press is not there for that. So make payment, and boom, just like that we're able to place the order over here. Okay, view invoice, and back to home. We are coming back to the home screen. Even if you reload now, we should be coming in the home screen itself because we have set up the verify token properly fine. All right, so there you go. So as we have completed designing the full project, that is whatever we have thought in the initial point. So yeah, we are able to place order, we are able to create users, we're able to sign in users, log in users, as well as log out users as well, and even the placing of order and choosing of the address from the map, and we can choose any address we want as we drag the pin. Even that is working fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it about this project. So if you find this interesting, please hit the like button and do subscribe for more such content. So let's see you in the next project, and then thank you for watching.